first woman in space, Valentina Tereshkova, was launched on a solo mission in 1963. We know the names of the first men in space and on the moon. But what about the women? Don't forget to give Earth Science TV a like for this video. The first woman to travel in space was Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova. On the 16th of June 1963, Tereshkova was launched on a solo mission aboard the spacecraft Vostok 6. She spent more than 70 hours orbiting the Earth 2 years after Yuri Gagarin's first human-crewed flight in space. Tereshkova was born on the 6th of March 1937 in the village of Bolshoy Maslenikovo in central Russia. Her mother was a textile worker and her father was a tractor driver, who was later recognized as a war hero during World War II. At the time of his death, on the Finnish front, Tereshkova was only 2 years old. After leaving school, Tereshkova followed her mother into work at a textile factory. Her first appreciation of flying was going down rather than up when she joined a local skydiving and parachutist club. It was her hobby of jumping out of planes that appealed to the Soviet Space Program Committee. On applying to the Cosmonaut Corps, Tereshkova was eventually chosen from more than 400 other candidates. Tereshkova received 18 months of severe training with the Soviet Air Force after her selection. These tests studied her abilities to cope physically under the extremes of gravity as well as handle challenges such as emergency management and the isolation of being in space alone. At 24 years old, she was honorably inducted into the Soviet Air Force. Tereshkova still holds the title as the youngest woman and the first civilian to fly in space. While Tereshkova remains the only woman to have flown solo in space, her mission is a dual flight. And she spoke with the Russian Premier, Nikita Khrushchev, over the radio. Fellow cosmonaut Valery Bykovsky launched on Vostok 5 on the 14th of June 1963. 2 days later, Tereshkova launched. The two spacecraft took different flight paths and came within 3 miles of each other. The cosmonauts exchanged communications while making 48 orbits of Earth, with Tereshkova responding to Bykovsky via her call sign, Seagull. During the flight, the Soviet state television network broadcast a video of Tereshkova inside the capsule. In her later life, Tereshkova was decorated with prestigious medals and has held several prominent political positions, both for the Russian and global councils. Before the collapse of the Soviet Union, she was an official head of state and was elected a member of the World Peace Council in 1966. Today, she holds the position of deputy chair for the Committee for International Affairs in Russia. She also remains active within the space community and is quoted as suggesting that she would like to fly to Mars, even if it were a one-way trip. In 1963, Tereshkova became the first woman in space just 2 years after Yuri Gagarin became the first human in space. However, as the investment in the space programs grew, so did the gender gap. And Anna Lee Fisher, who became the first mother in space, also went on to make their mark. And female divide, with women accounting for just 14% of all Americans sent to space. It took another 19 years until Soviet cosmonaut Svetlana Savitskaya, aboard the Soyuz T-7 mission in 1982, became the second woman to travel into space. Savitskaya returned on a 1984 mission to become the first woman to fly to space twice and the first woman to perform a spacewalk. And her high level of fitness determined Sharman's selection ahead of nearly 13,000 applicants. While over 500 people have flown in space to date, only 11% of them have been women. Nearly all of these women flew in the NASA program, and the rest were in the Soviet, Russian, and Chinese space programs. In terms of numbers, the U.S. has sent the most women into space. Since 1961, a total of 50 female astronauts have flown with NASA, including Peggy Whitson, who currently holds the American record for most consecutive days in space. And Sharman launched into space on the 18th of May 1991 and spent 8 days in orbit. However, it's the percentages that highlight the male. The first class of NASA astronauts to include females was selected in 1978, while Sally Ride eventually became the first American woman to fly to space. Her classmates, including Shannon Lucid, Judith Rusnick, Helen Patricia Sharman, born the 30th of May 1963, is a chemist and technologist who became the first British astronaut in space and the first woman to visit the Mir space station in 1991. Sharman was chosen as a candidate after answering a radio advert asking for British astronaut applicants with no experience necessary for the Western world when she became the first American woman to enter space piloting the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1983. Despite the advert's rather simple request, the selection criteria were considerably rigorous, and is the third woman in space overall after USSR cosmonauts Valentina Tereshkova, 1963, and Svetlana Savitskaya, 1982. Helen's background in chemistry, her competence for foreign languages, she was picked live on British television. On the 25th of November 1989, Sharman was selected as one of only 2 candidates to undertake the full-time astronaut training at Moscow's Star City. The space program was known as Project Juno and was a collaboration between the Soviet Union and British space programs. The Soyuz mission, which included Soviet cosmonauts Anatoly Artsebarsky, Sergei Krikalev, Sharman's time aboard the Mir involved several medical and agricultural experiments and taking photographs of the British Isles from the station. At the time of launch, Sharman was nearly 28 years old, making her one of the youngest individuals to have flown in space.